Leafs Talk, JD Bunkis and Anthony Petrielli. Huge monster win for the Toronto Maple Leafs, defeating the Tampa Bay Lightning and the evil officials who tried to take over this hockey game. Big guns show up. Matthew Knies scores a hat trick. There's a million things that happen in this game. Where do you want to begin? You're the guest. Where do you want to start?
Okay, we're not gonna start with the officiating. I still feel like we could each have a cigarette after that game. As just it hit a high level there eventually, and like that was a fun game. And obviously, I don't know how you don't start with Matthew Knies. And for me, he kind of starts yesterday, right? Like they play a terrible game, like awful. I think everyone's well aware of that, them included. Yep. And you have the young guy on the team who comes out and says, "We were soft." Like, not the adults in the room. The guy who's barely played in the league is the one that comes out and says, "We were soft." And then he goes ahead and has that game. Like, he wasn't getting denied in front of the net. He wasn't getting denied in puck battles. Pucks were coming out on his wall all night. He gets rewarded with the hat trick, obviously. And like, what more can you say about him? I mean, like he's changing the dynamic of the team in front of our eyes.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. I thought that the first line tonight really bared down and played a really good hockey game. Like, if you want to talk about the start, the first couple of goals, I thought, again, a little mixture of sloppy play by Tampa, where they were a little loose with the puck in their own zone, trying to kind of like flip out pucks. That one goes onto Marner's stick, one goes onto Matthew's stick. The one that Knies finishes is the second goal of the hockey game, right? He gets on that rebound, but right place, right time. The second goal that Knies scored tonight, to me, is the one that was the most impressive, like more impressive than the dish from Matthews, which is beautiful in overtime. But if you look at that play, and I know it's a power play goal, but where he is positionally and having a defender just draped over his back, and it doesn't matter because he's a horse. He is a monster mammoth of a man who was completely unfazed by the Tampa Bay checker there.
And like, it was Victor Hedman.
Yeah, it's
not
exactly.
A small man. That's Victor Hedman. He's like, all right, get off me.
The guy that bumps him isn't Hedman. It's the
right
other
here
player
in front is Hedman, who he first goes to the net with, and then Moser's he's a passenger. He's just a bystander on the play, just a front row view to a goal.
But look how calm he is here too. Like, that's just an easy finish from this player. And I love what you said about the dynamic of the team, because, man, the whole year it's gotten repetitive in terms of trying to figure out things that are going to be different in terms of what gives you confidence about this Maple Leafs team. And if you're trying to do like the checklist of what it is, it's like, goaltending's at the top. The blue line is definitely more balanced than ever and better to defend. And I thought that, again, Toronto, for the most part in this hockey game, did a pretty damn good job of establishing their style of play and taking away the middle of the ice. But man, oh man, Matthew Knies just being a game breaker and a game changer. And just you think about the other guys that have tried to play on that line, right? And they've always wanted something of that type. And it's worked out to certain extents with like Michael Bunting and probably the best example is Hyman, right? Yeah. But for a while there, they just felt the loss of Hyman so badly. Like, Hyman left and you went, God, they probably screwed it up not making this guy a part of the core. And this guy is basically the eraser for that in free agency.
And it's funny because Bunting technically had the most productive season on that line as their left winger. Like, he had a 63-point season, but it was so fake. Like, so unbelievably fake. And he dove all the time. And I know fans, like, they liked it, he's drawing penalties and all that, but it was completely unserious playoff hockey. And he just got exposed every playoffs, basically. And Knies is the complete opposite. Like, he's going through guys. He's not looking for penalties. He's looking for contact. He's looking for bodies. He's looking for pucks. Like the rest of it, like, it's a side note in this game, and it's not the reason that they won, but him going to the box with Cernak and just mocking him in front of his face.
I love that.
Who does that on this team? Who's over the years who looks at guys and laughs in their face? in a serious way, not like a Matthews nervous tick way.
Yeah, or a Marner in the postseason with Marchand way, where he's getting in his face, or a Kachuk
punching him in the face and him laughing.
No, he brings something that this team just doesn't seem to have, which is like a genuine edge to his game. Like it's real, it's not forced, it's not fake, and it's just there. And I noted the mocking in the penalty box too, because it is just like a swagger and an attitude in a big game where he's kind of basically, by my estimation, and trying to lip read, being like, you absolutely know what would happen if we threw down.
he can fight. Like we saw it against White Cloud. Like he lit him up, and like White Cloud's a big dude. So, Knies, like he's just bringing a completely different dynamic that they haven't had on this team as like a genuine power forward. Like how many guys in the league play like Knies realistically?
Not many. And honestly, like I hate making this point because nobody wants to hear it, but it's actually why they need to figure out the contract ASAP, because he's so unique. That is what opens you up to offer sheet danger, right? Like every single team in the league wants Matthew Knies. There's not a group that looks at this player and says, well, he's pretty expensive. Like he's a unicorn. Like he is a genuine unicorn. You can list a very limited selection of guys that are his size and can play this way on a top line and who can perform in a must-win game against Tampa Bay with the Atlantic Division on the line and be, I think, arguably the team's best player tonight. And be that physical, that demanding. God, he was just so good. He was just a true delight tonight. So get it done. It's going to be expensive. It's going to be uncomfortable, as it always is with the contract stuff. That's the last I'll say on it. But the reason why he is so attractive and that he is going to come up that way is because of just, again, how unique and special he is as a player.
Yeah. And like, it's funny as you're saying it, like, it's not even hyperbole. Like he was their best player tonight.
Yeah.
He straight up was like, that's incredibly impressive when you think about it. Like the Leafs do have talented guys like Matthews and Marner brought it. Like Marner had 3 points tonight.
I thought Marner was great. He was probably the other guy that I'd consider.
Yeah. Like he was really good. Like he definitely wants the tying goal back, the third goal. Like you can't leave your feet there. Like that can't happen. Like if you're leaving your feet, that puck has to 100% get out, and he knows it. I've seen already that he said it after the game already that like I need to stay on my feet there. Like that is just a bad play. He's well aware, and he doesn't usually do things like that. But like Marner was really good tonight. And like we talked about that Knies goal and what he did in front, but you see how Marner's kind of changing the dynamic of the power play at the top, right? Like
he did a great job of filtering the puck down towards the net. And it's something that we've referenced a lot on the show this season. And I don't mean to like belabor the point, but one of the big criticisms I had with the power play was that the point shot, I don't think needs to be so dangerous that it's like the big Al McInnes, classic clapper at the very top. It just needs to be something that's threatening and gets to the net and allows those big bodies and the finishers that are around it to do their job. And so, I agree with you. Like the play by Marner was sneaky important. Big draw on that power play as well. Like Tavares absolutely cleans him out on that face-off. And then, Marner just like good job getting it towards the net, trusting that this guy, this mutant is going to win a battle, and he does it. So you're right. Like there is a swagger to him. There is an attitude to him. And I think that probably, if you want to kind of lump him in with the other guys, I think that's a fair thing to do, because to me, the story of this game for the Leafs was yet again how the first line responded after what was probably their worst game of the season, considering like the stakes, the circumstance, the opponent, finishing with, the one Matthews shot on a broken play. And, maybe if you're even generous, a Marner post. So you give them that. Yeah, they came out. They had attitude tonight. They started the game extremely well. They had a ton of attention to detail, minus obviously the play that you're referencing on the penalty kill where Marner leaves his feet. But I was critical of them last night. They deserve a lot of credit for the way that they played this evening.
Yeah. And how about, sorry, I needed to get that out of my system.
Are you dying?
I've had a tough week health-wise, but how about Tavares gets cleaned out on the draw last night against Florida for a goal, and he owns it after the game. Like that was on him. Like he didn't even move. He completely misread what Lundell was going to do. Mm-hmm. He gets waxed on that draw. And here he is tonight. And it's the opposite. Like he wins a huge, huge draw and it immediately leads to that goal. Like, that's it's a small thing, but like it's a big redemption play for Tavares, like the very next night, to do the exact same thing that cost them a goal last night. And, it gets them one tonight. And like, he didn't just win it, then he went to the net. Like, he tipped that puck at Marner's shot. So, like, those are the kinds of things you want to see where, like, guys are going to lose draws and make mistakes. He didn't shy away from it. He owned it. He straight up said that was his fault. That goal was his fault. He blamed himself. And then he comes back and wins a big one tonight. And it's a goal. And it's a huge goal. So, a lot of positives. I think you look at that third period in general, the shot attempts were 14-6 for the Leafs at 5-on-5. I thought the Leafs were really good in the third. I thought they were. I know you don't want to do it. Like, I don't want to do it. I thought that they were jobbed consistently by the officiating in the third. Like, it was bad. Like it took over the game, like in a really negative way. But they fought through it.
I don't talk about the refs on this show, but tonight is a special circumstance, and I will do it for the very first time. It was bad. That was embarrassing. It was bad. Like, that was a truly embarrassing performance by the officials. And I'll say this, like, I know we do a lot of it tongue in cheek on this show, and I think that I actually usually side in like real practice in not believing the officials are as bad as people usually think they are on any given night. I just think that in most cases, there is confirmation bias from a fan base where you are looking for the calls that get missed against your team and you don't do it the other way. And even some of the ones that have come up on the show, I kind of look at it as though it's usually the take that comes from your buddy when you're watching a game that has the worst takes, right? Who's like, the refs again. Yeah. And you're like, yeah, okay. Like, sure. I usually view it as pretty simplistic. Tonight, this game was awful. The Leafs in the third period were incredible and they withstood it. And the only reason that Tampa was in the game is because they got a power play goal. The only reason that Tampa gets a point is because of a power play goal. And that's on the officials. And honestly, like, that one kind of reminds me of when an umpire really misses a call and he hates it if all of a sudden there's a big inning, right? It's like, damn it, you blew the strike zone and now there's a big inning. And I hope that the officials in this one, when they kind of review it and they go over this thing, that they do feel a slight measure of shame because it was kind of a disgraceful performance. And I thought specifically the penalty that they called on what was the power play goal was just like a genuine shock for me. Like they came back from the break and all of a sudden there was the score bug up with the Tampa Bay power play marker. And I went, oh, that's a mistake. And I didn't realize that it was actually a power play until it started.
That is making yourself part of the game in such a negative way. And it's funny, like, I don't want to get into it like a whole, I don't want to get into like a whole 15
but like they're cross-checking each other at the, like, simultaneously on that play.
Guys going at it. Also, they're fighting here and like McMahon is about to like finally tune him up. And then of course the official comes in and breaks it up then, which is just like, it's just a pet peeve of mine. If like guys are fighting, let them fight. Like they're two grown adults. They're willing combatants. Like, you don't have to go in right there. Like, it's a fight. They're fighting. Let them.
I don't know why they jumped in there. I think it's because maybe like McMahon went down and so they got a little trigger happy where they're like, oh, wait, he's down, but then he found his feet and they still jumped in there. But either way, I just think that like the call before it to give McMahon a minor penalty when two guys, like, you could break that frame down by like microseconds or milliseconds. And I don't think you could tell which guy engages who first. Like, look at this entire battle of the two guys. There's not one moment where it looks like one of them is the aggressor. And so for the officials to just decide that 74 goes to the penalty box was embarrassing, like flat out embarrassing by the officials. Again, you should feel bad. The officials, you did bad and you should feel bad. But to your point about the third period, this was so important to me is I actually didn't think that this game felt very intense through two periods. I texted you that. I went, I kind of expected a little bit more intensity in this game. And then Toronto dialed it up to 11 in the third. I thought that they gave their best effort outside of the first few minutes where the first line was just completely on top of Tampa. And again, the Lightning looked discombobulated. It took them, like, I thought around 12, 15 minutes to actually get into this hockey game and stop being so sloppy. It was just flipping pucks, turnover after turnover. disconnected plays, missed passes from the Lightning. Once they settled in the second, we had a hockey game, but it lacked intensity. It lacked the feeling of this incredible amount of urgency that was supposed to kind of come with this game to me. And the third, Toronto had it. And I thought that Tampa tried to match that energy, and they flat out couldn't. Toronto was just the better team. This is a really good matchup for them. It's weird because the feeling I had against the Panthers last night, it's the complete inverse against this Tampa team, where I think the Leafs have a tremendous amount of confidence when they play them, and they absolutely know that they have their number.
The only time where I actively felt in the game like, oh no, was the Braden Point breakaway in overtime.
Yeah.
That was the first time in the game where I was like, when they got the power play, I was like, they're probably going to score and tie it here, because that's what happens when there's just a terrible penalty and you gift it, and the Leafs penalty kill is just not good. Like, it's just, it's a hazard. Like, it's a genuine, it's a big problem. But that aside, you know, I by and large felt like, I was like, I think the Leafs are probably going to come out of this game. Like, they just, you know, they seem to have it. Like, Nylander almost ended it right at the end. It was surprising to see him have such little confidence on that play, to be honest with you. Like, you usually see Nylander get in alone and just look to rip one by a goalie. And he kind of like held it.
I think he double clutched.
Yeah. And then he kind of like, he cornered himself. Like, it was just too far in tight. And then he tried to go 5-hole, because at that point, like, you have to try to open him up. But Vasilevsky was so far unfooled. Like, it was just, he's just like, I know you have nothing on me. And you could tell, like, the way Vasilevsky saved it, like, he played the puck after.
Yeah.
So, you know, but like, they were getting chances. That's the thing. Like, when you play Tampa, they're willing to trade some chances with you. And Cooper before the game was talking about like rush defense, and you could see why. Like, the Leafs got behind them. You know, what they have 3 breakaways in the first half of the game, like Lawton, Holmberg, right? Yep. They had some looks like all along, and Tavares had a penalty box. So, you know, like, you look through it and you just go, you can get these guys like this, like that. How is that a 2-on-1 if you're Tampa? Like, great for the Leafs, but like, if you're Tampa, I don't know, like, that was a nothing play. It was off the glass.
Told you, I just really wasn't impressed with Tampa Bay tonight. And I just thought that Toronto took advantage of it multiple times throughout this hockey game. And yeah, like, I don't know, the shots end up pretty close to even, right? But that's kind of Toronto's MO, is they'll let you do that. I did think that the second period, Toronto started to get a little too far in that direction, where it seemed as though they were just completely content in letting Tampa just gain the zone, take an outside shot, flip it out, gain the zone, take an outside shot, flip it out, without generating too much of their own. And that's probably the only thing, is like, I get the style they want to play, and I'm okay with the style that they want to play, because I do think that it is going to be conducive to the group they have, but also just playoff hockey in general, right? It's been a good formula. They're the best team in the NHL in 1-goal games. But the second period, like that one, I did, if I have like my minor critique of this game outside of, like, again, Morgan Riley, who just drove me insane multiple times in this hockey game, and I just kept like trying so hard not to do a bad tweet. I was like multiple times going, clip this, and then I went, tonight's going to end up being a positive show, because I felt the same way you did, which is, even when the game was tied, I felt like it was going to be a fluke in order for Tampa to win. And it honestly almost was, because it was just like a bad Morgan Riley turnover that resulted in that play in overtime. But I felt supremely confident in this game, watching them at every juncture, even as Tampa was making their pushes.
Yeah, I mean, the second period was bad. There's no getting around that. Like, Tampa had 37 shot attempts at 5-on-5.
Yeah, like I said, though, you know what I mean, though? Like, where they kind of decide that as a team. That didn't feel like Tampa was dictating it. It felt like Toronto was going with, like a soccer team, we're parking the bus.
Yeah, which is honestly like the biggest part of the problem. And you look at last night, or you look at the second period, and you know, like, during the day today, I don't know if it was just my Twitter, but like, I saw Scott Lawton was trending, right? And like, so people talk about.
By the way, it's definitely your Twitter, but
I don't know. Like, is that like an international thing? I logged in and I was like, how is he trending? Like, what? Like, it's like the middle of the afternoon. Like, what's going on? And so, you know, like, obviously he's a bit of a lightning rod right now. He's struggling. I actually thought he was really good tonight at
yeah, center. I want to get to that.
And so, like, before getting to all that, the bigger point is, like, when we look at last night and they can't get out of their zone, or we look at that second period and like they're just not sustaining anything, it always comes back to the top line. Like you're playing your best players all together. You have your best center, your best right winger, and your best left winger all on a line. And when they came out like they did in the first, the Leafs looked great. And when they had a really good third period, the Leafs looked great. And when they did nothing in the second, the Leafs did nothing. And when they took the entire night off against the Panthers last night because no one wanted to get their jersey dirty, their team got dominated. Like there's no like the third line was terrible tonight. That Domi, Robertson, McMahon line was a complete hazard. Like they got hemmed in repeatedly. Like Tampa should have scored any number of sequences when they were on the ice. They had a few counterpunch plays. Yep. And I actually thought Robertson did some really good work in the third period at points. But by and large, that third line was bad tonight. But it didn't ultimately really matter because the top guys actually played well. Yeah. And like it's always going to come back to them. As long as they run their lineup like this, which is what they're going to do, that's abundantly clear, it's always going to circle back to the top guys. Like it's not like rocket science or like we don't need to like overanalyze. Like, are the top guys going to play well? Yeah, the Leafs have a chance. Their goaltending is good. Their power play is good. You know, like their top line should be good. Nylander scores on the second line. But if the top line doesn't do anything, it looks like last night. When they do, it looks like tonight or against LA or against like you name it, right? Like that's the recipe.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Like there's no doubt that that's what the driver is, especially offensively, and what allows them to feel like they control some measure of offensive play, right? Like they're the only line that generally there's been some moments when they put McMahon up with the second line. But again, I thought tonight without McMahon, the second line sort of faded away and Yarncroc, like quick, what was the Yarncroc positive play from tonight that you remember?
I don't know if it was positive, but he had a chance in the third period.
No, I
just showed the replay, and I was like, "Oh, he skied it in the corner." It was basically a dump in from the slot.
Yeah,
so that was tough. But
it's just a very forgettable player that I don't think fits on that line. But you understand what they're trying to do. Like, if I'm going to slightly defend the third, because I agree with you, and ultimately, if you put those three guys together and you play a team like Tampa or a team like Florida, it just, at the end of the night, the stats aren't going to bear out and look good for them, right? You're going to look at the expected goals for everything. And it's just like the other team's going to have more possession when Max Domi is on the ice with Nick Robertson and Bobby McMahon. Like, well, I don't need to have a referendum on this from people. It's like, it is what it is. But all they are, and you can see the appeal for this team in terms of a group that doesn't score very often, tries to put them in some situations where they're just going to be a counterpunch line that flies in transition and sneaks the odd goal. And you had one tonight where it was like very early in the game where Max Domi gets out on a 2-on-1 and he filters a beautiful pass across to Bobby McMahon, who gets stuffed by Vasilevsky on a big save. And like, as weird as this is to say, I actually don't hate it simply from the standpoint of it's at least a line where I know what they're supposed to do, as opposed to like other iterations of the bottom six where they're like putting Lawton and Domi together and then trying to jam Roberts. And I'm like, what do you guys do? Like, what's the purpose of this line? What it is? It's the office space. What is it that you say you do here? And it's like, you don't defend particularly well, but then you also don't generate offense in any kind of a dangerous way. So yeah, like this is the play. Good job by the crew getting this one. But Domi makes a lot of those kind of like hopey passes. Bourne has been kind of hammering this a lot lately that, you know, he's a playmaker, but when you don't put him with playmakers, there's a lot of just turnovers, just pucks that go into defender skates and end up being breakouts the other way and then dangerous opportunities. I just like the idea of, at least with McMahon, it feels like a really tough decision they're going to have to make, which is like, do you want to notice him more and have a second line that is going to be far more credible on a night-to-night basis? Or do you want to have the counterpunch line that seems to have a little bit of an identity and hope at like hell that Nylander can just carry whoever the hell he's playing with on the second line? And that's not a shot at Tavares. I just mean in terms of like a driving player who ultimately is going to dictate things over the course of the entire game. That's still more Nylander to me than it is Tavares on that line.
Yeah, it's sad because I'm not sitting here like pining for Max Pacioretty, but like he's probably more of a factor either on the third line or honestly on the second line than Yarncroc. He's not more of a factor than McMahon on the second line, obviously, but like he would be more of a factor than Yarncroc. Like he's just a stronger, like he's a stronger man. Like he's just gonna go to the net and like he understands his role. Like he's good there. Like, yeah, you know, I'd half look at Yarncroc in that spot and say like, well, they know that he's gonna like give them an honest effort defensively, and like cover up a little bit, but like, what are we doing? You're putting them with those guys to cover for them defensively? Like, that's not a thing. Like,
so to the Pacioretty point, because I see the chat is going nuts. Like Papi Chulo is said patches for round one could be something, triple exclamation point. And Luke is telling me that the chat is just going nuts for the Pacioretty point. You came on my show about a month and a half ago. I don't know, maybe 2 months ago. And we were talking about one of the things that probably is not addressed enough, which is whether or not these guys are going to be durable for a postseason run. If you had like a board, right, a betting odds board of who will not survive the postseason run, it's like Max Pacioretty, you wouldn't even be allowed to bet him because the house would go like, we don't care that it's minus 10,000. We're going to lose money on this. So we can't accept the bets. And so as much as I agree with the point you're making, and I agree probably with a lot of people in the chat who are saying that he's probably a more natural fit on the second line, like how many minutes are you playing him? You get into a series with the Florida Panthers or like, against whoever.
He has an old non-contact injuries this year.
Exactly. He's an old man who came into this season with the whole storyline being Max Pacioretty, I'll tell you this. I know a little bit about him in terms of off the ice stuff. He is as like focused on diet and rehab and workouts as anybody in the league. You can go around all of the National Hockey League and you can try to find the guys who do the most away from the rink in terms of like the way they prepare their bodies. And Max Pacioretty is right there with just about anybody. And he still got hurt all year. They put incentives in his contract. They try to save him from certain games and take the pedal off. I think that there's a little bit of this. That's some contract, salary cap circumvention that's happening as of right now. Like I think that he could play, but ultimately I don't believe that it's a long-term playoff solution as much as it might be exciting for a few games before, again, the stresses of playoff hockey end up removing him from the mix there. So that's just my only thought with when it comes to like him being the balancing savior for this team.
Yeah. I definitely wouldn't look at him as the savior. I actually just think they have a bunch of guys who are in the same boat, which is to say, like, you can cycle them up to the second line on occasion, but none of them are a permanent solution. That includes Bobby McMahon. Like, he's pointless in his last 7. The last time he did it, produced anything offensively, was against Philly when like Torts was, I don't know, challenging Cam York to a fight in the dressing room, and then was promptly fired the next morning. Wasn't actually challenging him to a fight, just to clarify. But he was definitely saying, I'm going to ruin your life if you stay here. So you can make of that what you will. But all that to say is like McMahon kind of goes through these cycles where like they need to give him like a slap on the wrist and be like, all right, like you go down to the third line because you're not doing anything. Kelly Yarncroc, you go down to the third line because you're not doing anything. Like Scott Lawton, same boat, right? Like he could play there.
Well, honestly, let's hone in on that for a second because like this relates to this game. Like I don't want to get too big picture with this, but I actually thought that this was Lawton's best game as Leaf. He was noticeably positive, and it's like you just dunked him down on the fourth line, and he was quality. I think that that group had maybe 3 or 4 rush chances tonight where he was just like driving to the net, kind of creating plays. He made a beautiful pass in transition tonight as well to Holmberg that could have easily ended up being a goal. I kind of liked what you saw from those guys tonight. So there's a part of me that goes, hey, maybe don't mess with it and see if you get something there. But also a part of me that goes, the way that he played, why not actually take a look and promote him to that second line and just see if it works? Because the only time they tried it was last game in the middle of the game against the Florida Panthers, where it's like, okay, they're beating the brakes off of you. And this is the time you've decided to try this. Like if you're going to give it a go and you had the thought to try it in that game, my thought would kind of be, hey, you saw something from tonight. See if you can get a little more.
Yeah. I'd like to see it as a look, but to your point about, like at least I know what the Domi line's trying to do, which is like hit a counter type, a cat kind of goal or some sort of quick offense, some cheap offense, but it all counts. Him on the fourth line, I felt was the same way. He was like, oh, look, I'm with some grinders. We're just going to cycle and throw pucks to the net and get bodies in front. And guys are going to try and finish their checks and all that fun stuff. And he looked way more comfortable. But sometimes like you see him playing with Max Domi, he's like, I have no idea what this guy's doing. I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, like what are we doing here? Kind of thing. And So there did appear to be a comfort level. And you could argue, well, wouldn't that be the same thing if he's playing with Tavares and Nylander? Like, what am I doing here? And yeah, in theory, but like, I think you would simplify it a lot more for Lawton and just say, like, can you be the first guy in on the forecheck? Can you go and stand in front of the net? And that's it. Like, you have 2 jobs offensively, forecheck, and then go stand in front. And that's it. Like, you're not taking one-timers in the slot. You're not scoring your high slot one-timer like you did against San Jose. Mm-hmm. You're not, popping open at any point. You're barely even making passing plays. You're just forechecking and giving the puck to Nylander, and you're going in front. And like, I think he can do that. And like, he's serviceable on the wing. And, I think to your bigger point is like, when McMahon is going, he can drive a line. A bottom line, but like he can drive a bottom line, and Lawton can't, and no one else really can in their bottom 6, but McMahon can, and that gives you a bit of a different dynamic, whether that's Yarncroc or Robertson on the other side of Domi and McMahon. Like, you could pick between the two, but it gives you a little bit of something where you can push, because even today. Like, Tampa was down to 10 forwards. Like, Leafs played the night before, but it like that Scott Lawton line to me felt like the third line basically. As you went along, I was like, don't put this Domi line out. And they were out with 2 minutes left, and they were getting hemmed. And
which was a wild decision, by the way, that I do have in the notes, where I was like, why did that happen? That was like probably the weirdest decision of the night for Craig Berube to me, where I was like, yeah, okay.
That and Tavares and Nylander starting overtime with I know Matthews started, but they won the draw. Yeah. And then Tavares stayed on and Matthews came off. I was like, why on earth would you put Tavares on to win the draw, to then yank Matthews after winning said draw and run Tavares Nylander? Like, I don't understand. Like, aren't you winning the draw to put Matthews Marner on? Like, am I beside?
Yeah, I would have thought the same thing. I guess maybe just like Marner was tired or Matthews was tired. That's the explanation for that one. I honestly, I didn't even think about it until you mentioned it. Like just kind of felt natural to me because they do want to win that draw.
Game 77 is when we decide we care that Marner's tired all of a sudden. Yeah. Like, all year, Berube's like, can I hit 25? Can I hit 26 on this Tuesday against some crap team?
Yeah.
But in overtime against Tampa, he's like, you know what? He might be a little tired. He
does acknowledge when they're tired during like any time there's supposed to be practice, and he's like, no, you guys stay home. We'll practice with the rest of the team. But to close the point on the McMahon thing, all I would say is, yeah, I like your point about Lawton and just being able to simplify things. I did have a thought tonight when he was playing well. Like, I guess I just have to accept that the Leafs traded a first-round pick for a checking line fourth winger. Like, that's what they did, and that I'm going to be okay with it if he can play this way. But also,
he needs one big goal.
Man driving his own line, I just don't really believe it. We've only seen it in such minuscule spurts. And that ultimately, when he has looked his best, it's not been on the counterpunch line. It's been with the second group, where all of a sudden they do feel more dangerous in transition. All of a sudden, Nylander's playmaking does open up a little bit more because it's another guy that they can feed. It's another big body that I think plays a little bit more physical with those guys, just because they have more offensive zone time, which means more forechecking, less just like turnovers by Domi, right? It actually goes into the zone, goes down deep, and guys have opportunities to make plays. And if the gambit with this team is winning with the top players, which is, what you're mentioning from earlier tonight, right? The idea of like, hey, the top line's going. I think you kind of just improve your odds more having a stacked second line than you do trying to get cute, dispersing the talent and hoping that you're going to end up getting this counterpunch goal and that they have that identity, when ultimately it's just like, it's probably never going to be a great playoff line, no matter who you put down there. So just load up the top two and then pray that you can just kill clock with the other 6 guys.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, if you're going to get that kind of play from the fourth line, which they did tonight, like, to me, they're the third line. And then you just have this like 10-minute soft scoring line that you hope doesn't give anything back. And you're going to not only shelter them in the offensive zone, but shelter them with quality D-man. Like, not only were they on in the final 2 minutes, but like with like Benoit and Carlo, it was just like a stunning deployment decision on the road late in a tie game on a back-to-back. But like I said, like I kind of felt as that game went along, I was like, all right, I feel like this Lawton line is really the third line. Like they're probably not going to score, and I'm not feeling necessarily a goal from them, but like I feel pretty good when they're on the ice by and large. Like they're responsible. Like even Lorentz is getting pucks out, and you kind of just treat it that way. And to your point, like, yeah, like their best option is with McMahon on that second line. It's not like I thought the Tavares Nylander line was particularly good tonight. Like actually, I didn't think they were good.
No,
but, like they had some chances at the end, but that was
mostly
really
unnoticeable, to be honest. Like throughout a lot of the game, it was just they just sort of flew. Like it was just like, yeah, it didn't really have any dangerous plays 5-on-5 until late with Nylander.
That pass by Tavares to Spring Nylander was
it's great. But I just mean overall throughout the entirety of the game, I didn't feel like they had a real presence. And without McMahon, it just kind of felt like, all right, so your identity is not as an offensive line. Like what are you doing now with Yarncroc out here? Why does he need to be that's the thing is Yarncroc's supposed to be just like a cover up Swiss Army knife type player. But the reality of Yarncroc's game this year has been that he's been underwhelming in basically all of those areas. Like in principle, he's supposed to be the fits anywhere guy, but in application, he's just been sort of like, yeah, I guess he fits there in that he does nothing. He
looks like a guy who hasn't played all year.
Yeah, just like completely unspectacular game from him yet again. You mentioned the Benoit deployment though, and that's sorry, you want to make another point on this?
I was just not on that particularly, but I did have Luke clip like a breakout sequence in the second from that line, which to me, like, it just kind of sums it up. It's like, why do they struggle? And they're just like, they're so far apart. They're constantly like, it's not just Nylander blowing the zone. It's like Tavares is pulling high. And I don't know if we have that clip handy, but on the play, they back check. Nylander kind of helps disrupt a play in the slot. And so here's the play. So Nylander actually has a pretty good back check on it. And then this puck comes to the wall here. And look at Tavares just skate away from the play. Like, that's a center. Like, you've been in the league since you were 18. And Yarncroc doesn't have possession. And you don't go support your winger at all. You just leave. And you go, well, I wonder if Calle Yarncroc can win this battle all by himself on the wall, which he didn't. And then they just get hemmed in. And it's just chaos for a little bit there. And they get out of it, but you kind of like, to me, that's just a microcosm of the line. It's like Nylander's blowing the zone. Tavares isn't supporting. Like, Tavares is the key guy there. It's like, go help him. Where are you going? You're watching him. Like, he's getting outnumbered on the wall by two Tampa forwards. And you're at the high slot with what? Like, breakaway speed?
Yeah. You know what, though? Again, I think that some of this ends up getting down to the root of the desperate feeling that these guys have to provide offense, because that's what they're supposed to do with this lineup, is like the first and second lines need to score, and it's everybody else that's supposed to, and not, I shouldn't say it this way. Like,
can't cheat the game.
Yeah, for sure. But overall, I think that for the most part with this season, when they have put McMahon there, they have been like a bit of a better line. They have been more connected, and like they've tried so many different options with those guys. And like on that one, I kind of look at it too. It's like Carlo was coming in. I could see maybe a little bit how he thought that there was going to be two on the puck, but yeah, ultimately it's not the best look for the guys.
Yeah, you can't do the center above the puck.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's cheating. Like, there's just no doubt that he's cheating for offense there.
Benoit.
I thought Benoit was like a real story tonight.
He had a huge shot block on Kucherov on the PK.
Yeah,
I know it was all for naught, but like that saved the goal.
I think he had 7 block shots tonight.
He's been like interesting.
It was a really quality game from him, and like, there's this one, but you know what I love about this play too is that he goes right in the corner with him, and he's just like bumping, and he's bumping and grinding. He's getting back into position. Like, I don't know. He was noticeable to me tonight. Multiple plays, not just this block shot, but others as well. Like, he was getting out in front of pucks. He's completely fearless. I thought that he did great work in the corners, killing some of the Tampa cycles, and just notably good Benoit stuff for a guy that I thought has sort of taken a bit of a step back on the overall this year, and who I've usually advocated, like, hey, don't you want to see what a different guy looks like in there? Don't you want to see what a right-handed shot looks like if it's all things going to be equal from a talent standpoint? And tonight was a bit of a statement game from him for me. I really liked him. Kudos.
He's an interesting one because he is a good skater. Like I think that sometimes gets kind of lost with him. Like
it's why he loves to jump up in the rush.
Yeah, he's a big man and he can move. His issues with the puck on his stick, obviously. Like we talk about like that end sequence where they were getting hemmed in their zone with that Domi line. Like he had the puck with time and space and he fans on it. Like he flubs the puck and Gord picks it up right inside the blue line and then they proceed to have the play. It's like those are the plays where you look at Benoit and go, like, you need to make a real play with the puck. Like at minimum, you have to make sure it gets out. But then you see the other plays where it's like effectively stops Kucherov on the 2-on-1. He had the shot block that we mentioned on the one-timer on the PK. Like I thought he was actually one of their only good penalty killers. Like, he's rangy with his combo of skating and size and his reach. So, he's able to do good things and close off gaps on that side of things. And because he is skating and he's so active and a little bit fearless, right? Like he's like, I'm following Cooch here. Like, I don't care. Like there's like, he's the opposite of a lot of guys where you kind of like, you look at them and go like, they're almost bowing down to these guys. They're playing a little bit soft on coverage or admiring them too much or respecting them too much. Whereas Benoit plays the exact opposite. He's like, I don't care who this guy is. I'm doing what I got to do. So it's like, I'm always torn on him because like I love the effort. And I think he's one of the only guys where you could look at and say, it's like, if someone has to lay out to like block a shot or take a hit or make a play, like he's going to do it. And then you watch the other plays though, and you're like, make a play with the puck. Like just work on your puck handling.
Yeah, that's definitely like the major issue with him. And then especially when you got the two lefties that are like when they try to play him together on the bottom pairing. But yeah, like Mark says in the chat, gotta love Benny. He's not the best, but he plays so hard. And for a team that has been accused at times of not always playing hard, it's nice to have yet another guy who does that consistently for this group. And again, I thought that he really fit in tonight. He understood the moment. He understood the assignment. And there were not like the overwhelming Benoit stuff. I don't want to get into this too much, but I will say that there is a little something for me with the penalty kill in terms of just like, I know that we're missing McCabe right now, but ultimately at this point, you should be able to have Benoit and Carlo, two like big rangy guys who hit and can eliminate the front of the net.
Yeah.
And then Tanev and McCabe, and then a forward group that's supposed to be full of guys that should be more than adequate penalty killers. And yet the strategy you deploy doesn't seem to be working for you. And yet you kind of continue to stick with it despite like the lack of results. And I'll just say that I actually think that the PK is probably like everybody does the power play struggles, and think about all the times Mark Savard, like everybody knows the power play coach, right? It's like power play stinks, power play coach getting crushed, penalty kill stinks, no mention, right?
Yeah.
And
Lane Lambert, it's getting worse. Like it's actively getting worse. It's like a complete liability at the moment.
Yeah.
And the one thing I'll give them is you could see at least now that they are trying to pressure a little bit more. Like there is a level of pressure here. They're not just standing there, but it's so uncoordinated. Like immediately, Lorentz has to know to go to cover Bjorkstrand there. So like when the puck comes up here and it goes to Cooch, he should already be skating and he's a step behind because he's kind of watching it. Like you have to know on any level of pre-scout, and he played in the division last year. Like he played Tampa in the playoffs last year. You have to know that Cooch is going to 50-50. He's taking the one-timer or he's slap passing to the slot to a righty, right? And so it's like, I appreciate that they are trying to start pressuring a little bit more because like they did hit a point where it was far too stagnant and it was just like awful. But now there is a little bit more pushing out, but it's so uncoordinated. Like they're just like pressure.
It's late in the season to be asking guys to do it this way, especially again, juggling in certain guys. I can just tell you that I had Derek Lalonde on my show today and we were talking about the team. And one of the things that, and like Derek's great. He offers a lot of insight. I'd recommend people go and listen to it. But generally, like the guy is still trying to get back into coaching. And so he's not going to destroy another coaching staff, right? Like he's not going to rip them. But he had one little slip up, which is really like, and the Leafs have like a little bit more of like the old school approach to penalty killing. And I was like, yeah, that's a way of saying that you think that what they do is outdated and not great. So for Lane Lambert, I would just say that, yeah, all right, it's nice that you're trying to be a little bit more aggressive now, but boy, oh boy, you better shore it up because, yeah, Toronto, if they're going to go deep, one of the pieces of the formula for a team that does not have the 5-on-5 offense that they've got is to win the special teams battle. And it makes it really tough on your power play if every single time the other team gets one, they're, playing a weakened and vulnerable group. So that's it for me in terms of big talking points. Is there anything else you want to hit on before we wrap up here?
No, I think just to follow, like that's the issue is like they're willing to get out possessed territorially, right? Like in terms of 5-on-5 play, I think that's very clear at this point. They're like, we'll pack the house and you just won't get your shots through and you're definitely not going to get anything dangerous. And we need half the good looks that you do, other team, to score, which is in theory, it can work. Like that's like the old like Rangers Tortorella hockey is the way I think of it.
Well, I just think about it as the way that it has worked against them in the postseasons against Boston and against Florida. So I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, that, even when they beat Tampa, very similar to your point. And like, but you need your special teams to be good, to be part of that. And like, I actually feel okay-ish about the power play. Like, I think they have 5 dangerous guys. And the biggest worry for me for them is them giving things back offensively.
Yep.
But like, I also think that they can produce the PK though. Like, you can't survive a PK like that if they have a 2-week run where they kill like 60%, like that, like you're just going to be so far behind the 8 ball. Like it's unbelievable. And they've spent so much, to your point, on like, like Tanev is a big time penalty killer. They brought in Carlos, like even Brad Marchand was complimenting this guy on the PK. And they brought in like even Scott Laughton. Scott Laughton's been an excellent penalty killer in their league. Like,
they've got the personnel, so they've got to be able to figure this out because, like, you could make the case that from a personnel standpoint, this is the best they've ever had it, and I think that it would be a pretty simple case to make. By the way, I do love this. This is a perfect way to close tonight, which is lightning strike. Bulls fan here. Whoa. WTF? Did we ever do to Matthew Knies? Dude hates us with a passion. Yeah, I think it's just exposure to a guy who's in your division and just continues to dominate you and likes this matchup. Like, he's certainly not afraid of it. He loves it. He was great again.
Nice that the Leafs have a guy for once where we're like, oh, look, this guy's actually going to play really well against this division rival.
Yeah.
And he's going to bring it.
Yeah, like a big physical guy with a mean streak who's willing to go to the dirty areas and comes up in the clutch. What is it? This is what it feels like. It is nice. You're right.
Off and then comes back the next night and gets a hattie to win and put them, in the driver's seat for the division. Like that's big time stuff.
This is a huge. This will go down as like the Matthew Knies game when people reflect back on it. Especially if this has meaning and like Toronto ends up going past and Florida gets bounced in the first round in a series with Tampa. Like this will go down as like the Penguins game that they clinched with Curtis McElhinney in net to be able to get a playoff spot. Like it's going to be a very memorable regular season game. That's the one that we watched tonight. That's why I'm glad that it was a win and that there could be more positives coming out of this than another night like last night where Bourne and I basically didn't even analyze the game. They were like, that was bad because what's there to analyze? They got the like it was so bad.
Is Sammy on vacation right now? Is that what's going on?
He's in Hawaii.
He's in Hawaii at the beginning of April. Like, does he know what industry he's working in? Like, they get a couple more like that from Knies. That like he might have
Sam
to stay there.
Does not live to work. He works to live. Like he is not concerned about what time of a year it is. If there's a vacation that he's going to be able to go on with his wife, you better believe he's going to take it. So he's not passing up a round of golf for work. He's not passing out a hang or a beer. Like it's the beauty about him. Like we're polar opposites that way. And I think that's probably why we make great friends. Okay. So you can follow him on Twitter and on Instagram at A Petrielli. You can follow me at JD Bunkis. Reach out anytime. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a thumbs up. If you're even watching on YouTube, we always appreciate if you subscribe to the podcast. You leave a review there on Spotify or on Apple. And again, we will see you. God, the weekend. It's like Saturday and Sunday. Gross right down the stretch, which I absolutely hate. But yeah, Sammy will be back. So Anthony will be able to enjoy it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Anthony for doing this. Thanks to the crew. It was great. The highlights were amazing tonight from Luke and Brandon. We will see you Saturday night.